Hey everyone, so this is going to be lesson 5, where we're going to now deal with equations, and this time dealing with the rational exponents. So we're kind of combining everything that we've talked about so far. All right, so for this, like we said before, that we need to make sure that we only get one term on each side. Right now we have 2 on the left, so I'm going to subtract the 7 over here. 132 minus 7 is going to be equal to 125. Remember from before, 125 can be rewritten as 5 cubed. So I can now set the exponents equal to each other. So I get x minus 1 equals 3. Add the 1 over, and I get x equals 4. Over to here. If you recall, 216 is actually 6 cubed. And we get this. Fixing the exponents, 8 times 3 is 24. So setting them equal to each other, we get this. Subtract the 3x to both sides. And I get 2x equals 24. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 12. All right, so now what we're going to do is talk about how we can kind of do this stuff with rational exponents. So remember, a rational exponent is, or rational exponent equations, one where the exponent can be written as a fraction. And just like before, we're going to want to solve by isolating the variable. And then to eliminate the exponent, raise it to the reciprocal power. So what does this all mean? We'll check this out now. So what we're going to do here, so we have 3x to the third equals 81. So like with everything, we're going to want to we want to get rid of all the terms that we can that are by the x that aren't already being raised to some power. So this 3 can be divided out, and we end up with this. X cubed equals 27. Now we actually know that 27 can be rewritten as 3 cubed. So since these kind of similar to what we've done before, except this time it's the exponents that are the same, which means that I can actually ignore them and say that x has to be equal to 3. Over here, so all right, we have everything kind of do that. So what we're going to end up doing, they said that we need to get rid of this exponent. So how are we going to actually go about doing this? So the first one was kind of easy to go about doing, but with here, the way we're going to solve it is we're going to put 4/3 to both sides. So this is what they mean by raising by the reciprocal. The reason being is because 3 divided by 4 times 4 divided by 3 is equal to 1. Because the 4's cancel and the 3's cancel. So this gets me, this is my solution. And then from here, I can actually kind of, work on this. So for example, the cube root of 8, it can be rewritten like this. The cube root of 8 is actually 2 raised to the 4th power. This is going to actually give us 16. So what we get is that x equals 16. So this is how you're supposed to go about answering these types of questions. So you get rid of all the terms that are on the x, isolate it, then multiply both sides by the reciprocal of whatever exponent is on x, and then you simplify whatever you can. All right. So over here, because there's nothing on the y that isn't raised to some power, like there's no number outside those parentheses, I'm going to start isolating that exponent. So the way I'm going to do this is by multiplying or raising both sides, to the 2/5. So this will simplify to just y plus 3. And then here we get 32 to the 2/5. And then y equals this. Because I can subtract the 3 over. Now again, I could do the same thing I did before. This can be rewritten like that. So taking the 2 out and then just dealing with the 5th root of 32. So 32 to the a number that raised to the 5th power equals 32 is actually 2 again. So this simplifies to just 2 squared minus 3. We know 2 squared is 4. So we get y equals 1. Now, again, as I've said before, if you weren't sure how you're supposed to actually go about doing this without using calculator, you actually do have one. So if you did type in 32 to the 2/5 power, you would see that this does equal 4, and you could have solved this a lot quicker. So keep that in mind. I'm showing you how you can do it by hand, but you are allowed a calculator to do some of this math. All right, so here, this 3 is not raised to that exponent, so we actually have to divide both sides by 3. So we get this. We're going to raise both sides to the 3/2, the reciprocal of the original. This just becomes x, and this becomes the square root of 4 to the 3rd. Well, square root of 4 is just 2. So 2 cubed is going to be 8. Right. Going down here. So again, we're going to slowly try to isolate these terms. Subtract 5 from both sides. And we get 2x to the 4/3 equals, well, 167 minus 5 is equal to 162. I want to get rid of the 2 that's over there, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I get 4/3, and 162 divided by 2 is 81. From here, what I can do is raise both sides to the 3/4. This ends up being, can be rewritten like this. The 4th root of 81 is going to be 3. And 3 cubed, as we know, is 27. All right. Let's see, for this next one. Okay, so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to subtract the 2 over and then add this to the other side. That way I have 12 equals 4b to the 1/3. The 4 isn't with the b, so this actually gets brought over like that. Then I'm going to raise both sides to the reciprocal, which is a 3. So this ends up being 3 cubed equals b equals 27. So hopefully you should start to realize that the pattern of there being a lot of 3 cubes and 5 squares and 5 cubes. So like always, you want to kind of keep an eye out for that. All right. So with this, what we're going to do is distribute this half exponent to each term. So again, I'm not multiplying the numbers by half, I'm multiplying the exponents by half. So this becomes 9 to the negative 1/2, x 2 times the negative 1/2, and 6 times the negative 1/2. From here, this ends up being 1 over the square root of 9. This ends up just being negative 1. And this ends up being negative 3. This becomes 1 over 3. This becomes 1 over x. And this becomes 1 over y cubed. Putting all this together, this simplifies as 1 divided by 3x y cubed, since they're all being multiplied. All right. Over here, so they want us to rewrite this using a root. So because there's a negative on the exponent, that means I'm going to flip and take the reciprocal of this. That just ends up being this, which is really the same thing as just n to the 2/3. The 2 is the power, so that stays with the n. And 3 is the root, so that goes on the outside. And there we go. Please make sure that you're careful with how you draw your root number. You don't want to make sure that you don't write it like this, because this is read something differently. So you want to keep the root number, the 3, small on top of the little shelf made by that radical. Okay, so for these questions, we're going to do the same thing that we were doing before. We're going to add the 1 over to the other side. Divide both sides by 2. I'm going to multiply this by the reciprocal. Which is negative 1 over 3. So then we end up getting x equals 1 over the cube root of 4. Now, normally, you would see me try and solve this to figure out what it is, but I know that the cube root of 4 is not actually a whole number, so I'm going to leave it as is. Over here, simplify this. So what we're going to do is first distribute this power over. So we get 5 times x plus 5 times 2. Then, since I'm multiplying these, that ends up just being adding the bases. Sorry, not bases, the exponents. And I end up with that. Because there's no equal sign, there's nothing else for me to do besides just simplifying into a slightly neater way. All right, so down to here. They want us to rewrite this number with a root. So so first I'm going to get rid of the negative by putting it over 1, or 1 over it. 3 is the power, so it stays with the b, and 2 is the root, so I'm just going to leave it here. Remember, the absence of a number outside the root implies a 2. So there is a little 2 here, but you don't need to write it in there. So you can actually just leave it like this. It means the same thing. Over here, I'm going to distribute this power to both terms. So what I can do is both of these, because they're going to be under the same root, the root is going to be b, and it's going to be 3 squared and b squared. I'm going to want to try to simplify that 3 squared, so I'm going to turn that into 9b squared. Going to 5. Distribute the -6 to both exponents. So it ends up being this, and then minus, well, plus, because -2 times -6 gets us 12/3. So cleaning this up, this ends up being -3 and +4. Because x is to the negative power, we're going to put it in the denominator, and we get this. Y to the 4th divided by x cubed. All right. Let's see. And that's it. So again, you should be noticing that we're trying to hit some more complicated questions. If you have any problems with this, please let me know. Join the extra help. Remember, we have extra help every Monday and Wednesday, but please notify me if you decide to come. Thank you and have a great day.